Out of nowhere, a bizarre notice popped up in our building's WhatsApp group chat. Hey everyone, we didn't pay our internet bill this month because we don't want our baby getting addicted to screens. However, we occasionally need it for work and entertainment. Therefore, we expect our neighbors to share their connection. Our online hours will be from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily. During this time, please do not use your own Wi-Fi, so we can enjoy maximum speed. I will be adding the neighbors on our floor. Please accept my request immediately and send over your password. The message was sent by the tenants in apartment 9A. I lived in apartment 9C. A second later, a friend request popped up on my phone. I swiped decline without hesitating and replied in the group. Did God run out of skin when he was making your face? Or did he just double layer your audacity? You've got some nerve. Within minutes, my doorbell rang like crazy. Through the security camera, I saw a man and a woman standing there looking ready to start a riot. The woman had her hands on her hips. I'm practically screaming at the camera. Open up. What the hell is your problem? Hurry up. My husband has a document to edit. And you're the only one on this floor who isn't asleep. Wow, a match made in heaven. Two complete lunatics. I tapped the intercom and let out a sarcastic drawl. Hey, why don't you guys just come on in? I can slice up some fresh fruit, brew a nice pot of tea, turn on the AC and let him work on my couch. Would you like a foot massage with that too? The husband, looking clueless, beamed and whispered to his wife. Wait, seriously? That actually sounds awesome. The wife was slightly smarter. She smacked him hard on the back of his head. Are you an idiot? She's being sarcastic. I turned back to my door and started pounding on it again. Come on, just give us the Wi-Fi password. He has to finish editing by 11 p.m. so he can get his 8 hours of sleep. If he doesn't, it's bad for his immune system. Their sheer unadulterated entitlement actually made me laugh. While pulling up my phone to text the local police dispatch, I kept them talking through the intercom. Fine, get your phone ready. In the camera monitor, I saw the husband eagerly pull out his phone, navigating to the Wi-Fi settings. The password is 9AR. Idiots. The husband tapped his screen 6 times, frowned and muttered, wait. It says incorrect password. His wife smacked him again. She's calling us idiots. You dumbass. The internet was right. A lot of people are functionally brain dead, but because they can feed themselves, society treats them like normal citizens. These two were prime examples. The woman wouldn't give up, continuing to rattle my doorknob. I didn't get it. Why was her husband's job my responsibility? Was his salary going into my bank account? Just then, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. The police had arrived. The woman spun around, looking at the officers like they were her personal saviors. Oh, thank goodness, officers. You're finally here. The officer blinked, confused. Did you call us? I threw open my door. No, I did. I laid out the entire story, adding just enough dramatic flair to make them look as ridiculous as possible. The 2 officers and the building security guard who followed them up stood there in stunned silence. But Brenda, the wife, immediately put on a victim act. Officers, we're neighbors. What's wrong with helping each other out? Not only is she cold-hearted, but she also insulted us. I'm pretty sure verbal harassment is a crime. You should arrest her. The officer looked like he was physically restraining himself from rolling his eyes. He said sternly, "Ma'am, it's 10 o'clock at night. Banging on doors and screaming in the hallway is disturbing the peace. As for the internet, she has absolutely no obligation to share her private network with you. I suggest you call a provider and set up your own service tomorrow." Then he turned to me with a tired sigh. Look, miss, just to resolve this for tonight, so everyone can get some sleep, would you mind letting them use it just this once? You can change your password first thing tomorrow morning. I didn't want to, but I didn't want to make things difficult for the cops either. I reluctantly rattled off a temporary password. And you too, the officer warned the couple. Do not knock on her door again. Once the police and the guard left, I slammed my door shut and locked it. Through the thin walls, I could faintly hear Brenda giggling. Yay. Hurry up and do your work, babe. I'm going to stream that show I missed earlier. Streaming at the office during lunch just wasn't the same. Her husband, Greg, mumbled something about keeping the volume down, so it wouldn't be too noisy. Brenda clearly ignored him. 5 minutes later, my router app notified me that 4 new devices had connected. 2 iPhones, a smart TV and a MacBook. A wicked idea popped into my head. I opened my casting app, synced up to their smart TV, and cast a terrifying jump scare clip from a horror movie. At maximum volume, I let it play for 3 seconds, cut the feed and repeated it. A muffled blood-curdling shriek echoed from apartment 9A. Satisfied, I changed my Wi-Fi password to something entirely different, and went to bed with a huge smile on my face. Next morning, I ran into Maya, the tenant from apartment 9B, right outside the elevator. She was about my age. When our eyes met, she immediately asked, "Hey, did that crazy couple try to add you on WhatsApp too?" I gave her a solemn, heavy nod. She gave me a look of pure sympathy. It was clear she hadn't been spared either. Maya introduced herself and explained she worked rotating shifts at a local hospital. She had been on the night shift last night, which was the only reason she had escaped the initial drama. "My friend is a teacher at the elementary school down the street," Maya whispered, leaning in. "She actually has their kid in her class. Apparently, those parents are a teacher's absolute worst nightmare." She pulled out her phone and showed me a few leaked screenshots from the parent-teacher portal. The husband was Greg Thompson. The wife was Brenda, and their kid was named Braxton Hunter. Yes, double-barreled and incredibly pretentious. The messages Brenda sent to the teacher were gold. "Miss Kelly, Braxton Hunter's pee was a bit dark when he got home today. Please personally monitor his water intake during recess." Attached was a high-resolution photo of a child's toilet bowl. "Miss Kelly, why does Braxton Hunter's textbook have a bent page? Do you not inspect it before handing it out? This feels like a targeted microaggression against my son. Miss Kelly, Braxton Hunter doesn't like cooked onions. Please instruct the school cafeteria to swap out onions for garlic when preparing his lunch." My skin crawled just reading them. Since the Thompsons had just moved in, our peaceful hallway was officially a war zone. While we were whispering, a sharp nasal voice cut through the air. "Hey 9C, did you do that on purpose last night?" It was the dark urine mom herself, Brenda. "So what if I did?" I rolled my eyes. Her face contorted in rage for a second, before she snapped her head toward Maya. "And you, 9B, why haven't you accepted my request? Send me your Wi-Fi password. I heard you work nights, so you're not even using your internet then. Anyway, it's just going to waste." Maya didn't hold back. "Well, your apartment is empty during the day, right? I need a place to sleep after my shift. Why don't you let me sleep in your bed? Otherwise, it's just going to waste." Brenda's eyes popped. "Look at you two. Not a single ounce of ladle-like grace spitting venom like that. You both look so thin and sickly. Anyway, no wonder you don't have the blessing of raising a strong son." I slapped my hands on my hips. "Wow, did you gargle with sewage this morning? Or is that just your natural breath?" Just then, Braxton Hunter waddled out of their apartment. He was exactly what I expected. A round, greasy kid holding a half-eaten hot dog. After a few steps, he dropped it right onto the dusty carpet of the hallway. Brenda rushed over, picked up the fuzzy hot dog, blew on it twice and shoved it right back into her son's mouth. Maya and I stared absolutely horrified. Fortunately, Brenda was running late to drop her golden boy off at school, so she couldn't linger. As the elevator doors closed, Maya turned to me. "So what do we do? She's definitely going to come back for the password. We can't keep doing this forever. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it." I sighed. But that bridge arrived much sooner than expected. That very evening, Brenda knocked again. This time she wasn't asking for the Wi-Fi password. She wanted my door lock code. She claimed they had relatives visiting from out of state, and their apartment was too crowded. She wanted Maya and me to share our apartments. "It's simple," Brenda said, her tone incredibly generous. "Since you work during the day, my relatives can stay at your place. And since Maya works at night, they can sleep at her place. We aren't asking for free either. We'll pay you $20 a day. 20 whole dollars. Wow. How would I ever spend such a fortune? Get lost before I call the cops again," I said coldly. But Brenda chose to play dirty. "If you won't let them stay, I'll just have them set up. Air mattress is right here in the hallway. Don't complain when they're blocking your door." To prove her point, she immediately dragged out several trash bags, dirty laundry hampers and a plastic bucket, placing them right outside my doorway. She was declared war. If she wanted to bring guests, I could play that game too. Coincidentally, my mom had called me earlier crying about my grandma. Ever since my grandfather passed away, my notoriously hot-tempered grandma had been living with my parents, the mother-in-law. Tension was through the roof. I dialed my mom back immediately. "Mom, pack grandma's bags. Send her to Chicago. She's 75 and she is ready to rumble." My grandma Evelyn was a force of nature in our family. We called her grandma on demon mode. My mother always said that when Grandma Evelyn was born, the doctor didn't slap her. She slapped the doctor and asked why the room was so cold. At 75, Evelyn stood a towering 5'2", possessed a spine made of industrial-grade titanium, and harbored a worldview that classified all of humanity into two categories: people who mind their own business and targets. The train from Indianapolis pulled into Chicago's Union Station right on time. I stood near the arrival's gate, waving frantically as a sea of travelers parted. There she was. She was wearing a violently floral pastel tracksuit, dark designer sunglasses indoors, and was wheeling a vintage, hardshell Samsonite suitcase that looked heavy enough to contain the remains of her enemies. "Grandma," I called out, jogging over to hug her. She pulled back, adjusted her sunglasses, and patted my cheek with a hand that smelled faintly of peppermint and vintage Chanel No. 5. Look at you. You've lost weight. Are you eating? Or is that skinny little hospital friend of yours stealing your food? I've eating fine, grandma. And Maya is great. She's actually looking forward to meeting you. Good, Grandma Evelyn said, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the terminal like a hawk looking for field mice. Now tell me about this swamp donkey on your floor. What's her name again? Brenda. Yes, Brenda Thompson. And her husband Greg. Brenda, Grandma repeated, tasting the name like a sour grape. A classic. Usually accompanied by a bad bob haircut and a pathological need to speak to a manager. Lead the way, kiddo. My knees are stiff, and I'm just itching for a reason to ruin someone's day. The drive back to my apartment building was filled with Grandma Evelyn getting up to speed. I explained the entire saga, the Wi-Fi demands, the midnight door pounding, the text messages about Braxton Hunter's bowel movements, and, finally, the current state of affairs, the pile of trash bags, laundry hampers, and a dirty plastic bucket Brenda had erected right outside my door as a makeshift blockade. She called it an air mattress preparation zone. I muttered, turning into our parking garage. She told me if I didn't let her relatives sleep on my floor, she'd make sure I couldn't leave my apartment without stepping in her dirty laundry. Grandma Evelyn let out a low, rumbling chuckle. It was a terrifying sound. It was the sound of a general realizing the enemy had just marched their troops into a dead-end canyon. A blockade, Grandma Evelyn whispered, her eyes sparkling with unholy glee. Oh, the sweet, stupid child. She thinks she invented petty. We took the elevator up to the 9th floor. The door slid open with a soft chime. Sure enough, the hallway was a disaster area. Directly in front of my door 9C sat 2 bulging black trash bags, a wicker laundry hamper overflowing with what looked like dirty gym socks, and a bright blue plastic bucket half filled with gray murky water. It was positioned so perfectly that anyone exiting my apartment would have to either leap over it or kick it over. Maya was standing outside her door 9B, looking exasperated, holding a cup of coffee. When she saw us, her face lit up. You must be the legendary Grandma Evelyn, Maya said, offering a polite wave. In the flesh, dear. And you look like you need a sandwich and a solid 12 hours of sleep, Grandma Evelyn declared. She didn't even pause. She marched right up to the obstacle course blocking my door. Grandma, wait, let me move it. I started reaching out. Don't you touch a thing, Grandma snapped. You touch it, it's a dispute. I touch it, it's an accident. I am 75 years old, legally blind in one eye according to my driver's license, which is a lie. I can see a hypocrite from a mile away, and I have poor spatial awareness. Before I could ask what she meant, Grandma Evelyn took her heavy brick-like Samsonite suitcase, lined it up like a bowling ball, and shoved it forward with surprising, terrifying force. Crash. The hardshell suitcase plowed straight into the wicker hamper. The dirty gym socks exploded into the air like a flock of depressed birds. The suitcase didn't stop there. It clipped the blue plastic bucket. The murky gray water splashed outward in a perfect, sweeping wave, soaking the carpet and pouring directly under the door of apartment 9A. Oops, Grandma Evelyn said, her voice entirely flat. My hand slipped. Right on cue, the door to 9A flew open. Brenda stood there, wearing a silk robe that looked like it had been dragged through a swamp, her face twisted in absolute fury. What the hell are you doing? Brenda shrieked, looking down at the wet carpet and the scattered socks. Are you blind? You just ruined my laundry. And you got water all over my entryway. Grandma Evelyn slowly lowered her sunglasses to the bridge of her nose, staring over the rims with eyes that could freeze boiling water. Who is this loudmouth creature? Grandma asked me, ignoring Brenda entirely. Is this the building's custodian? Because if so, she's doing a terrible job. The hallway is filthy. Brenda's chest heaved. I am not the custodian. I live here, in 9A, and you just destroyed my property. Oh, Grandma Evelyn said, her face softening into a smile that was entirely devoid of warmth. You're the Wi-Fi beggar. The one with the dark piss baby. Maya snorted into her coffee, quickly turning it into a coughing fit to cover her laughter. Brenda's face went from pale to a deep, dangerous purple. Excuse me. How dare you? Who even are you? You don't live here. I'm calling the landlord. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, call them, Grandma Evelyn said, taking a step forward. Despite being a head shorter than Brenda, Grandma's aura was so menacing that Brenda actually took a step back into her own apartment. Tell them that a senior citizen with a mobility issue tripped over your illegally placed garbage in a fire exit route. Let's see who gets the ticket, you oversized toddler. This is my hallway too, Brenda yelled, though her voice lacked its usual booming confidence. Actually, Maya chimed in, leaning against her doorframe, according to Section 4 of the building's lease agreement, hallways are common areas and must be kept clear of personal items at all times. Any items left unattended are considered abandoned property and can be disposed of by building management. Or, well, anyone. Exactly, Grandma Evelyn said. She reached down, picked up one of the wet, dirty gym socks with 2 fingers, and tossed it directly into Brenda's face. It hit Brenda squarely on the nose and fell to the floor. Clean up your trash, dear, Grandma Evelyn whispered. Or the next thing, slipping under your door won't be soapy water. Without waiting for a response, Grandma turned, unlocked my door and ushered Maya and me inside. Behind us, Brenda let out a high-pitched, frustrated screech before slamming her door shut so hard the hallway light fixture rattled. Well, Grandma Evelyn said, tossing her keys onto my kitchen counter. That was a decent warm-up. Now where's that tea you promised? By the next afternoon, the hallway had been miraculously cleared. The dirty water had dried, leaving a faint, musty smell that Grandma Evelyn insisted we neutralize by spraying a heavy mist of cheap, industrial-strength peppermint oil directly outside Brenda's door. Rodents hate peppermint, Grandma explained, spraying the can with professional precision. And so do people who act like them. Around 6 p.m., the elevator chimed again. Through my peephole, I saw the next phase of Brenda's plan arrive. It was her relatives. They looked exactly like Brenda, if Brenda had been cloned in a factory that specialized in manufacturing minor inconveniences. There was an older sister, Linda, who wore a visor indoors, her husband, a man in cargo shorts who immediately began groaning about his lower back, and 3 children who looked like they fed exclusively on blue food coloring and chaos. They were carrying 2 giant, uninflated queen-sized air mattresses and a loud electric air pump. Oh, they're actually doing it, I said, watching the monitor. They're going to inflate them in the hallway. Grandma Evelyn walked over, pushed me aside, and squinted at the monitor. A slow, beautiful grin spread across her face. They brought an electric pump. Splendid. Let them plug it in. We watched as Greg Thompson came out of 9A to help. He dragged an extension cord from his apartment, plugging it into the wall outlet just outside his door. The sister's husband flipped the switch on the electric pump. A high-pitched, deafening whir filled the hallway. It sounded like a jet engine taking off in a tiled echo chamber. They have no shame, Maya said, having joined us in my apartment after her sleep shift. They're literally blocking my door now. I can't even leave if I wanted to. Don't worry, darling, Grandma Evelyn said, picking up her phone. She didn't dial the police. She didn't dial the landlord. Instead, she dialed a number she had written down on a piece of scratch paper earlier. Yes, hello. Grandma Evelyn's voice suddenly transformed. Gone was the sharp, commanding tone. Instead, she sounded like a frail, terrified 90-year-old woman on the verge of tears. Is this the Chicago Fire Department non-emergency line? Oh, thank heavens. I'm so frightened. Maya and I exchanged looks. Grandma Evelyn deserved an Oscar. I'm a senior citizen, yes. I live on the 9th floor of the building on Grand Avenue. Grandma whimpered into the receiver. There's a group of people, yes. They've blocked the entire elevator exit with large, inflatable hazards. They're running high-voltage extension cords across the wet carpet. I tried to step out to get my heart medication, but I almost tripped and fell. I'm trapped, dear. If there was a fire, I'd burn right up like a dry leaf. She paused, listening. Oh, bless you, officer. Yes, apartment 9C. Thank you so much. She hung up, her face instantly reverting to its normal, smug expression. 10 minutes, she said. In the meantime, let's give them a little mood music. Grandma Evelyn went to her purse and pulled out a small, portable Bluetooth speaker. She connected it to her phone and looked at me. What's that song the kids like? The one that sounds like a lawnmower falling down the stairs. Dubstep. I suggested. No, too modern. Let's go with classic bagpipe military marches. At maximum volume. She placed the speaker directly against our front door. A second later, the screeching, triumphant wail of 100 Scottish bagpipes blasted through the wood, perfectly clashing with the high-pitched drone of the air pump outside. Through the peephole, I watched Greg Thompson stop pumping. He walked over to my door and pounded on it. Hey, turn that crap down. We're trying to set up here. Greg yelled. Grandma Evelyn stood right behind the door and shouted back. I can't hear you. I'm practicing for my husband's funeral. He loved the pipes. Your husband died 20 years ago. I whispered. He did, and he'd appreciate the dedication, Grandma whispered back. Within exactly 8 minutes, the elevator doors opened. 2 men in dark blue Uniforms with heavy badges and clipboards stepped out. It was the city fire inspector and his deputy. The moment they stepped onto the floor, they were greeted by 1, 2 half-inflated, massive queen-sized air mattresses blocking the path to the fire stairs. 2. An extension cord stretched tightly across the floor at ankle height. 3. 3 children jumping on the half-inflated mattresses like they were trampolines. 4. A deafening cacophony of an electric air pump and military bagpipes. The lead inspector, a man whose mustache looked like it had seen 30 years of fighting fires and taking no nonsense, stopped dead in his tracks. He stared at the scene, his jaw tightening. What in the living hell is going on here? The inspector roared, his voice cutting through the bagpipes. Greg Thompson, clueless as ever, smiled. Oh hey officers, we're just setting up some extra sleeping space for our family. The apartment is a little tight. The inspector looked like he was about to have an aneurysm. You are setting up sleeping quarters in a designated fire egress corridor? Brenda emerged from 9A, her hands on her hips. Look, we pay rent here. We have a right to use the space. Our apartment is crowded, and our neighbors are being completely hostile and won't let us use their spare bedrooms. The inspector turned his gaze to Brenda. Ma'am, do you know what a fire egress is? It's a hallway, Brenda said defensively. No ma'am, it is an emergency exit path. If this building catches fire, these mattresses become a deadly blockade. People will trip, suffocate, and die. And you plugged an unrated extension cord into a public outlet across a common pathway. It's just for a few days, Brenda argued. Don't you have real criminals to catch? The inspector didn't even reply to her. He flipped open his clipboard. This is a Class 1 fire code violation. I am issuing a direct citation to the tenants of apartment 9A, as well as a building-wide safety fine. Wait, what? Greg stammered, his smile vanishing. A fine? How much? $2,500, the inspector said flatly. And if these mattresses are not deflated, packed up, and removed from this hallway within the next 5 minutes, I am calling the police department to assist in your immediate removal for creating a public hazard. Linda, the sister, gasped. Brenda, you said this was allowed. You said the building had a neighborly sharing policy. It does. Brenda lied, her voice cracking. The landlord said. The landlord is going to get a copy of this citation, the inspector interrupted, ripping off a yellow slip of paper and handing it to Greg. 5 minutes. I'm waiting in the lobby. If I come back up and see so much as a pillow out here, you're going to the station. The inspectors turned and got back into the elevator. Outside, chaos broke out. Linda started screaming at Brenda for getting them into trouble. Greg was frantically trying to unplug the pump, but in his panic, he tripped over the extension cord, falling flat on his face into the half-inflated mattress, which let out a loud, sad hiss as his weight popped one of the seams. Inside 9C, Grandma Evelyn calmly turned off the bagpipes. Beautiful, she murmured, taking a sip of her tea. Now that is what I call community service. The fire inspector's visit was a major victory, but Grandma Evelyn warned us that a cornered rat is the most dangerous. She's going to retaliate, Grandma said during breakfast the next morning. People like Brenda don't learn. They just simmer. She was right. By noon, Maya texted me from her shift. Check the building's Facebook group. Brenda is posting. I opened the app. Brenda had posted a long, rambling essay in the private Grand Avenue residents group. To all my neighbors, please be aware that apartment 9C is harboring an elderly, mentally unstable woman who is a danger to the community. Yesterday she physically assaulted my family, threw dirty water into my home, and called the authorities on my children who were simply playing. She is using a dangerous, high-decibel acoustic weapon, bagpipes, to harass us. We feel unsafe. If anyone has contact info for adult protective services, please DM me. We need to get this woman the help she clearly needs before she hurts someone. I felt my blood boil. The nerve of this woman. I yelled, showing the screen to Grandma Evelyn. She's trying to get you committed. Grandma Evelyn put on her reading glasses, leaned in, and read the post. Instead of getting angry, she let out a delighted hum. Oh, she writes like a mid-level marketing scammer, Grandma chuckled. She wants to play the internet game? Let's play. What are we going to do? I asked. Report the post. Report it? Heavens no. We leverage it, Grandma said, her eyes flashing. You still have those screenshots of her school portal messages? The ones Maya showed. You. Yes, I saved them on my phone. Print them, Grandma Evelyn commanded. Print 50 copies. Right now. Grandma, what are we doing with 50 copies of Brenda's complaints about school onions and dark urine? We are going to educate the public, Grandma said simply. That night, under the cover of darkness, which Grandma Evelyn insisted was necessary for the aesthetic, we went to work. Actually, it wasn't that dark. It was 9 p.m., but Grandma wore a black hoodie anyway. We didn't just target our floor. We targeted the entire building. We taped a copy of the Onion Gate message inside the main elevator. Miss Kelly, Braxton Hunter doesn't like cooked onions. Please instruct the school cafeteria to swap out onions for garlic when preparing his lunch. Below it, Grandma had written in bold red marker. The 9th floor dictator demands garlic. Please adjust your cooking accordingly. On the community bulletin board near the mailboxes, we pinned the dark urine post, complete with the cropped photo of the toilet bowl Brenda had sent to the poor teacher. Below that, Grandma had printed a friendly reminder from apartment 9A, please monitor your water intake. Braxton Hunter is watching. By 8 a.m. the next morning, the building was buzzing. I stood near the mailboxes pretending to look through my junk mail, watching the reactions. 2 young guys from the 5th floor were staring at the bulletin board, absolutely howling with laughter. No way, one of them said, taking a picture with his phone. Is this real? Targeted microaggression against my son, because of a bent textbook page? Ooh, is this psycho? She lives in 9A, the other guy said, shaking his head. Man, I feel bad for that kid. Imagine your mom texting your teacher a high-res photo of your pee. Just then, the elevator doors opened. Brenda walked out, holding Braxton Hunter's hand. She was looking smug, probably expecting the building to be whispering about the dangerous elderly woman in 9C. Instead, she noticed the crowd around the bulletin board. Excuse me, Brenda said, pushing her way through. What is everyone looking at? She stopped. She stared at the printout of her own text message about the dark urine. The silence in the lobby was deafening. Who did this? Brenda shrieked, her voice reaching a pitch that only dogs could hear. This is private medical information. This is a violation of my family's privacy. This is cyberbullying. Actually, ma'am, one of the 5th floor guys said, trying desperately to hide his grin. It's on a public bulletin board. And honestly, you might want to get your kid some more water. That color is not healthy. How dare you? Brenda roared. She ripped the paper off the board, tearing it into shreds. I know who did this. It was that old hag in 9C. I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue every single one of you. Braxton Hunter, confused by the shouting, dropped his toy truck on the floor. Mommy, I want garlic bread, he whimpered. Someone in the back of the lobby let out a loud snort. Brenda grabbed her son's arm, her face redder than a fire engine, and bolted out the front door of the building, leaving behind a trail of absolute humiliation. By day 3, the Thompsons were desperate. Brenda's sister Linda and her family had packed up and left for a holiday in on the second day, unable to handle the public embarrassment and the constant smell of peppermint oil. Greg, however, was still under intense pressure. His document editing job, which apparently required the finest, high-speed connection that only his neighbors could provide, was suffering. At 3 a.m., my router app sent a notification to my phone. Alert, your router has disconnected from the internet. I woke up, blinking in the dark, and tapped my phone screen. It wasn't just a dropped signal. The entire router was offline. I slipped out of bed and walked into the hallway. Grandma Evelyn was already awake, sitting in the dark living room, sipping a glass of warm milk. The internet is down, I whispered. I know, Grandma said. I heard a click in the hallway about 2 minutes ago. Did they cut the line? There is only one way to find out, Grandma said, standing up with surprising agility. She grabbed a heavy metal flashlight from the drawer. Let's go. Inspect our perimeter. We crept to the front door and looked through the peephole. The hallway was quiet, but the metal door to the building's main utility and media closet, located right next to the elevator, was slightly ajar. A faint light flickered inside. They're tampering with the building's wiring, I whispered, panic rising. If they break the main fiber line, the landlord will blame us for the drama. Hush, Grandma Evelyn whispered back. Grab your phone. Set it to record. And don't make a sound. We slipped out of the apartment. Maya's door opened a crack, and she joined us, wearing a pair of fuzzy slippers and looking ready for battle. The 3 of us crept down the tiled hallway toward the utility closet. Inside, we could hear muffled grunting and the sound of plastic clicking. I don't know which one is 9C, Brenda, a hushed, stressed voice muttered. It was Greg. They aren't labeled. If I unplug the wrong one, the whole floor goes dark. Just unplug all of them. Brenda's voice hissed from the shadows of the closet. If we don't have internet, nobody does. That'll teach those snobs to share. But Brenda, this is illegal. Just do it, Greg. My show is starting in 10 minutes and you need to upload your PDF. Grandma Evelyn looked at me, gave a sharp nod, and then, with the force of a woman 40 years her junior, slammed her hand against the metal door of the utility closet, shutting it completely. Slam. Before Greg or Brenda could react, Grandma Evelyn slid the heavy metal latch into place and wedged her metal flashlight through the handle, locking them inside. Hey, what the hell? Greg's voice screamed from inside the tiny, cramped closet. Open the door. We're stuck. Grandma Evelyn leaned against the metal door, a calm, serene smile on her face. My, Grandma said loudly. The utility closet seems to be infested with very large, noisy rats tonight. Maya, dear, what do we do when we find pests in the building? We call extermination, Maya said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Or the police. Whichever is faster. No, wait. It's us. Greg and Brenda, the husband yelled, pounding on the door. We were just looking for a lost cat. A lost cat in a high-voltage electrical closet? Grandma Evelyn laughed. Oh, Greg dear, your brain is as dry as a digestive biscuit. If there's a cat in there, it's currently being toasted. Open the door right now, Brenda shrieked, her voice muffled by the thick steel. I'm claustrophobic. This is kidnapping. You're going to jail for this. I'm 75, Brenda, Grandma Evelyn called back. The only place they're sending me is a very comfortable home with a view of a garden. But you're going to have a criminal record for tampering with public utilities and destruction of property. I pulled out my phone and dialed the police non-emergency line again. Yes, hello? This is apartment 9C. We have caught 2 individuals currently vandalizing the building's main fiber optic utility closet. Yes, we have them secured inside. Please send an officer. Make sure they bring some cheese, Grandma added. The rats are very vocal tonight. For the next 20 minutes, Brenda and Greg took turns begging, threatening, and eventually crying from inside the dark closet. We're sorry. Okay, Brenda sobbed. Just let us out. Greg's foot is in a bucket of old wire. It's dirty in here. You should feel right at home then, dear, Grandma Evelyn remarked, completely unfazed. When the police officers arrived, the same 2 officers from the first night, their faces were a mixture of exhaustion and sheer disbelief. You again, the lead officer said, looking at me, then at Maya, and finally at Grandma Evelyn, who was still leaning against the locked door like a guard at a castle gate. Officer, thank goodness you're here, Grandma Evelyn said, putting on her sweet old lady persona. We caught these 2 trying to cut the building's emergency communications. In this day and age, with the cyberterrorisms and the webnets, we had to act. The officer sighed. Let them out. Grandma Evelyn pulled the flashlight out of the handle. The door swung open. Greg and Brenda stumbled out, looking absolutely pathetic. Greg's shirt was covered in dust, and Brenda had a smudge of grease across her forehead. They locked us in, Brenda screamed, pointing a shaky finger at Grandma. Arrest them. They kept us hostage. The officer looked at the open utility box behind them. Several main cables had been yanked out of their sockets, leaving the indicator lights flashing red. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, the officer said, his voice cold. What were you doing in the building's restricted utility closet at 3 in the morning? We lost our cat, Greg whispered. Do you have a cat? The officer asked. No, Greg admitted. Brenda slapped him on the arm. Shut up, Greg. Tampering with building infrastructure is a misdemeanor, and since this affects multiple residences, the building owner will likely press charges for property damage, the officer said, pulling out his handcuffs. You 2 are coming with us to the station to write up a report. But what about my show? Brenda wailed as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. What about Braxton Hunter? He's asleep in the apartment alone. We will be contacting Child Protective Services to perform a welfare check on the minor left unattended while you were committing a crime, the second officer said calmly. As the officers led the weeping Brenda and the utterly defeated Greg toward the elevator, Grandma Evelyn called out one last time. Don't worry, Brenda. I'll make sure to text your son's teacher and let her know why he won't have his garlic lunch tomorrow. The utility box incident was the final straw for the landlord. Tampering with the building's infrastructure, getting hit with a $2,500 fire code violation, and having the police called 3 times in a single week made the Thompsons a massive liability. 2 days later, Maya and I were sitting in my kitchen with Grandma Evelyn, eating a plate of her famous lemon bars, when we heard the sound of heavy cardboard boxes scraping against the hallway floor. I looked through the peephole. Greg and Brenda were loading suitcases and boxes onto a cart. They had a yellow notice to vacate taped to their front door. The landlord had given them a 5-day emergency eviction order for lease violations, public endangerment, and property damage. Brenda looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was a messy nest and her proud, entitled posture was completely gone. Greg looked like a man who had finally realized his immune system was the least of his problems. Even Braxton Hunter looked subdued, holding his half-eaten hot dog with a look of quiet confusion. Grandma Evelyn opened our front door, stepping out into the hallway with her cup of tea. Brenda stopped, her eyes locking onto Grandma. For a second, I thought she was going to scream or throw something. But the fight had been entirely drained out of her. "Are you happy now?" Brenda whispered, her voice trembling. "You ruined our lives. We have to move into a motel." Grandma Evelyn took a slow, elegant sip of her tea. "I didn't ruin your life, dear," Grandma said softly. "Your audacity did. You thought the world was your living room, and everyone else was just furniture. But you forgot one very important thing." Brenda blinked. "What?" "Sometimes," Grandma Evelyn said, her sunglasses sliding down her nose with a satisfying click, "the furniture bites back." Without another word, Grandma turned and walked back into my apartment, shutting the door behind her. Through the peephole, we watched the elevator doors close on the Thompson family. For the very last time, Maya raised her glass of orange juice. "To Grandma Evelyn, the protector of the 9th floor." "To Grandma," I agreed, clinking my glass against hers. Grandma Evelyn smiled, taking another lemon bar. "Now then, I believe your mother said something about having some trouble with her neighbor's barking dog. Back in Indy. Pack my bags, kiddo. The Queen is going home."